What if I told you Oscar Piastri might be done with McLaren? What if Mark Webber, his manager, his mentor, his shadow strategist, already knows it? And what if everything we've seen this season, the team orders, the cold radio messages, the slow pit stops, the weird silence from team bosses, is actually the beginning of the end? Because something just snapped. And it wasn't a car part, it was trust. Mark Webber doesn't speak often, but when he does, it's never by accident. And this week, he dropped a message so bold, so pointed, it felt like a red warning light flashing across the McLaren pit wall. "You have to be solid on all circuits," he said. And then, the uppercut. In terms of the number of kilometers spent in the lead, Piastri is well ahead. Boom. No sugar, just facts. And just like that, the war for McLaren's soul may have begun. Let's rewind. Zandvoort. Oscar Piastri on pole. Oscar Piastri leads every single lap. Oscar Piastri wins. Lando Norris. He DNFs with a blown engine. Disaster. That's the moment the world saw what Webber already knew. Oscar isn't just talented, he's championship material. And more than that, he's leading this title fight in the places that matter. Points? Yes, Piastri's ahead by 34. But Webber says even that is misleading. It doesn't show Oscar's control at the front, his consistency, the fact that race after race, lap after lap, it's been him setting the pace. And yet, Monza happens. Lando gets a botched pit stop, drops behind Oscar, and then the team makes the call. Let Lando through. Now pause. This isn't lap 3. This isn't a strategy mix-up. This is 4 races away from the end of a world title fight. One driver leading, the other making mistakes. And still, Oscar is told to move over. His reply? Calm, but ice cold. I mean, we said a slow pit stop is part of racing. I don't really get what's changed here. But if you really want me to do it, then I'll do it. There's no yelling, no sarcasm. But the message? Loud. Oscar knows he's being treated unfairly. And he's not happy. He doesn't need to say it. Because the tone says everything. Even the fans heard it. Social media lit up. The clip of that radio call, Oscar questioning the order, went viral. Fans don't forget that kind of tone. And drivers don't either. The contrast between Oscar and Lando is becoming painfully clear. Oscar is composed, quiet, lethal. Lando, he's emotional, frustrated. And when asked about Zandvoort, he straight up said he's forgotten about it. That he doesn't want questions about his mentality. That he knows Oscar makes him look more emotional, which only makes the McLaren strategy even weirder. Why is the more consistent, calmer, and currently more successful driver the one being asked to step aside? Why is the team still protecting Norris? And then you realize, it's not just about who's faster, it's about who they like more. McLaren, whether they admit it or not, may be falling into the exact same trap Webber faced at Red Bull, backing the driver with the bigger brand, not the better results. Webber knows the signs, he lived them. Remember, not bad for a number 2 driver? That wasn't just a joke. That was the cry of a man watching his own team pick sides. And now, he sees it happening again. Except this time, it's personal. This time, it's Oscar and Webber. He's not going to let that happen again. He's already speaking out. Already setting the narrative. Already dropping cold, hard truths into the media machine. Why? Because if this continues, if McLaren keeps playing games with team orders and papaya rules and hidden preferences, Oscar won't stay. He can't stay. Not if he wants to win titles. Not if he wants to write history. And don't think the other teams aren't watching. Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, they'd all take Oscar in a heartbeat. So the question is no longer, will Piastri become champion at McLaren? It's, will Piastri leave before he even gets the chance? And based on what we just saw in Monza, he might already be halfway out the door. Oscar Piastri may not be yelling. But Mark Webber is, not with volume, but with strategy. Because every quote, every stat, every calm interview, it's not random, it's not soft, It's a chess move. Webber isn't just defending Oscar, he's building the case for what might come next. A quiet exit, a sudden team switch, a generational talent, leaving McLaren before they even realize what they had. Let's talk about Monza again. 4 laps from the end. Oscar's ahead. Norris has botched his stop. No damage, no contact, just racing luck. Oscar should be free to take the points, but the team steps in. They ask Oscar to move over, not because Lando earned it, because the pit crew messed up, and Oscar had to pay for it. He obeys. But the look on his face after, the tight, clenched jaw, the straight stare, that wasn't a driver accepting strategy. That was a driver swallowing betrayal. And while the outside world focused on the lap chart, Mark Webber was watching something else entirely. Patterns. He's seen this movie before. He lived it at Red Bull. The early warning signs, the subtle orders, the constant feeling of being number 2, even when the scoreboard said otherwise. Back in 2010, after winning at Silverstone, Webber was congratulated by his team boss with a smile and a handshake. His reply? Not bad for a number 2 driver. Now fast forward 15 years. Monza 2025. Oscar's asked to step aside for a teammate he's beating. History doesn't repeat. It echoes. But this time, Webber's not the one behind the wheel. He's in the war room. He's the shield. And he's making sure Oscar doesn't suffer the same fate. That's why he spoke up. That's why he dropped the stat. Kilometers in the lead. Not a metric most fans look at, but a damning one when you compare Piastri and Norris this year. Because it proves it wasn't just one win. It wasn't just Zandvoort. Oscar's been controlling races, leading laps, staying calm under pressure. And when the heat rises, he doesn't crack. He doesn't complain. He just delivers. But here's the kicker. McLaren might still back Lando. Why? Because Lando is the veteran, the fan favorite, the British golden boy, 7 seasons in Papaya, friends with the media, friends with the sponsors, and maybe, just maybe, the safer bet for brand loyalty, even when Piastri is the better bet for titles. And that brings us to now. Because Mark Webber has made it crystal clear, he won't let Oscar get dudded. That's his word. Not ignored, not overlooked, dudded. This is the man who saw how Red Bull leaned toward Vettel and vowed it wouldn't happen again. This time, he's the firewall. He's the reason Oscar hasn't cracked. He's the reason we're even having this conversation. And he might be the reason Oscar Piastri walks. Think about it. 9 races left. Oscar leads the championship. But if McLaren keeps tilting the board, keeps sending messages like Monza, then Webber has a choice to make. Stay, or flip the table. And there are plenty of suitors. Red Bull could take him if Verstappen ever decides he's had enough. Mercedes? Hamilton's throne will be vacant sooner than later. Ferrari? Imagine Piastri versus Leclerc. You think Fred Vasseur wouldn't pick up the phone? Every team wants a future world champion. And that's exactly what Oscar is. Some say he's the next great Aussie, better than Ricciardo, maybe even Brabham or Jones. A world title would make him the first non-European champion since 1997. That's history. And history doesn't wait for team orders. It gets made by those who don't move over. And that's where the next chapter lies. Because now, everything hangs in the balance. McLaren has a choice. Do they double down on the narrative? Keep Norris in the spotlight? Keep asking Oscar to play the good soldier? Or do they realize what they have? A stone-cold killer in the cockpit, a title leader, a future legend. Because if they don't, then don't be surprised when Oscar Piastri signs elsewhere, when Mark Webber picks up the phone, when silence becomes action. And don't be surprised if, in 2026, Oscar's wearing red, or silver, or even that dark shade of blue, anywhere but Woking. Because at the highest level of Formula One, respect isn't asked for. It's earned, or it's taken somewhere else. So we ask you, is McLaren betting on the wrong driver? Will Oscar Piastri be the next star to walk? Or will McLaren wake up before it's too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments, Because one thing's for sure, the quiet ones, they never stay quiet forever.